Hello there. Um, I guess we still exist. I would like
Yeah,
to. Fair. I would like
I'm gonna
to
mute myself now.
apologize. Yeah. I'd like to apologize for us being gone last week as I had theater stuff going on, but also not sorry. Um, but yeah, welcome back to the Swinging Swordsman, the show that is supposed to be D&D, but we end up missing at least half our crew. As always, I'm your humble dungeon master, Dan. I am a theater freak and a TTRPG geek, and this is apparently episode 29 of Fury of the Outlands. God damn, this is like over halfway through what most of our campaigns are, and honestly, I feel like we're not even close to finishing this. Sorry. Getting getting texts from various peoples. Before we get into the recap, if you would like to know what our lives are like outside of the campaign, but not necessarily outside of D&D, go over to the Spotify podcast Guys. It is heavily outdated, but it still exists.
We are
I don't
going to
even.
shoot a new episode soon, I hope. Hopefully soon.
Well, I mean, I got nothing going on for Saturdays anymore unless shit changes at my work. We'll find out. If you want to also listen to some music, our friend Waida has some music over on the various music channels. YouTube Music, Spotify, Apple. Don't trust Spotify if you're a cheap bastard like me. Just go to YouTube Music, please, for the love of God. Also, Spotify, fix your shit. Like, I love Spotify for podcasts, but goddamn, it's like a fucking maze when you're trying to listen to music and you're just doing it for free. Moving on. Our buddy Angel also does art stuff over at Tenchi Art somewhere, everywhere, maybe, I don't know. And I think that's it for the most part. So, let us get back into the events ahead. So, after our party made their way into the Maze of Embers, they had come into a couple of different trials in which some felt like they were more successful. The first trial being that of adventuring through the memories of various other members of the Volkanov line. More so in the past, this leading to the realization that Yuri and the Volkanov line itself are used to be members of minor nobility in the old Atherin Empire before everything went to shit. The second trial had them facing off against apparitions of what seemed like their own guilt within a veil of ashen mist. And while most of our companions managed to fight their way through their guilts, or in Raikion's case, just not giving a shit, Yuri, however, had some issues and was left in some way scarred, not only emotionally because this is all bullshit, but also physically, as his arm was left with various markings along it that were not originally there. After some conversations, possibly yelling at a goddess too, I honestly don't remember anymore. The party was about to make camp for the night when they found themselves being surrounded by the Ash Husks, undead elementals that seemed to be kind of wandering around the maze. When they expected these Ash Husks to be more docile, these ones, for some reason, had a change of heart and now wanted to make their way into an assault against the party. It was in this moment where the party started to huddle around together. Arakion shot one. A arrow started to fly through the air, knocking another one down, in which everyone saw a second Genasi towards the edge of the campsite with a bow and arrow, seeming to somewhat come to... seeming to sort of come to their aid, and that is where we are now. So, I need to change the music one more time.
Oh.
What do I want to go for? Yeah, why the fuck not? Alright, let me unfog this. Let me...
Spiders.
And with that... They're not spiders. I don't actually have artwork for Ash Husks for some stupid reason. Okay,
That's weird.
so in the it's not because Google's been a bitch. In the meantime, roll for initiative, you fuckers.
Oh boy.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
First time in a while.
I know.
Can I do that from the map view, or do I have to do it in the character thing?
You have to do it in the...
character.
Yeah, you have to do it in the character sheet.
Alright. No, I don't want to choose my initiative. I want to roll my initiative.
And hit the fucking dice. Jesus Christ.
Got a 6, so 8.
Well, you did better than the fucking Husks and the unknown Genasi.
We're not supposed to know
Which-
that.
Well, whoop de fucking do. You do now. Alright. Alright, so, top of the round, it's Yuri.
Oh, what? Oh, I was not expecting this.
Neither was I.
Okay. I will... First of all, I'll use my bonus action to reach.
Hey, good old Rajay.
Yeah, boy.
I think for convenience sake, I'm gonna use my phone so I can look at the map here.
You do you, man.
Okay. Then he moves in a straight line right towards number 4.
Alright.
Then-
That is you.
Reckless swing great axe at number 4.
Alright, whack him.
Whack. Ooh.
Jesus fucking Christ. You want a crit fish?
I'll crit fish. Probably
Crit fish,
won't,
baby.
but-
You wanna what?
Crit fish, a term used where you don't necessarily have to roll the advantage or roll for advantage at this point because it's already going to hit, but you want to anyway to see if you can get a nat 20.
So if you don't get the nat 20, you keep your original roll?
Because at that point if you know it's going to hit, like if it's a fucking 26. But I mean, if you did want to roll the advantage, you could for the sake of trying to get a nat 20. But in the meantime, yeah, fuck, roll for damage.
Yeah. 8 slashing.
Hell yeah.
All right.
And then, I don't remember, does Barbarian have extra attack at 6 or no?
I think they do.
They get extra attack at level 5, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He does the same thing a
you can
second time.
whack him.
Acha!
Well, you can still do it reckless.
Okay. Acha!
God
There you go.
fucking damn. Yeah, that hits.
Hell yeah. Oh, a 1, but 5 slashing total.
Damn. Alright. And that'll be it for you?
That's it.
Alright. Frost, you're up.
Alright. Let's see. I'm going to. Give me one moment. No. There was something I had. I don't think it's spell.
What, your channel divinity?
Yeah, that's what it was. I was looking at the wrong list.
Alright, which one? Preserve life or turn undead?
I'm looking at turn undead. I want to read it for a second.
Alright, no worry.
Okay, cool. So it's 30 feet from me. How far away would you say each husk is from me? Oh yeah, you can measure.
They're all less than 30 feet, so it would hit all of them.
All right. I'm going to use turn undead, and they all need to make a wisdom save or flee.
Yes, the fuck they do. Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna do this as a 2 unified rolls because otherwise it's just gonna be 6 fucking rolls at the same time. So this is gonna be so this is gonna be for the 3 on the right.
You can't like
They
select
fail.
D20 number of D20s.
No, I
to roll?
can. I can. It's just I'm lazy as fuck. And
Okay.
this is easier. All right. So 3, 4, and 6 all fail.
Hole! Hell yeah.
Oh shit! They all fail.
Yes.
Let's go!
They.
All right. So what I'm gonna do is
Let's see what the.
my my gauntlet has the Eye of Helm on it. And so I'm just going to lift my gauntlet into the air and basically not bestow, what's the word I'm thinking of? I'll say call upon my god, and when I do, a bright light flashes in a sort of pulsing shock, just a single shockwave, and washes over every creature around us, and all the undead freak out.
Yeah. So you let this pulse of light come from your gauntlet and the holy symbol within it. You watch as all of these freaking Ash Husks begin to sort of jerk and cower away from you in this particular situation. And congratulations, you just turned all 6 of these fuckers.
So as a cleric, I only get 1 action, right?
Yes, but you do still have a bonus action.
Right. So
Wait,
what can I do with
hold
my
up.
bonus actions?
Oh, I forgot. You're 7th level in cleric, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be even more interesting because starting at 5th level, turn undead becomes destroy. Wait, what level are these fuckers? Hold on. Oh, son of a fuck! Did I really?
Did they all fucking perish?
Did I really? Did
Beginning
Holy.
see? Oh my fucking
hang on,
god!
I'm reading this right now. Hang on.
Oh.
As an action, turn them.
Oh my fucking god!
Destroy undead. So starting at 5th level, when an undead of challenge rating 1/2 or lower fails its saving this throw against your turn undead feature, he is instantly destroyed. Are they all just turned to dust?
Holy
Yeah, you're
shit.
not gonna believe this, but they are indeed CR 1/2.
I forgot
Holy
about that feature. I was
So
expecting
did
them
I.
to run, not turn
Yeah,
to
so was
ash.
I. So, yeah, no, you let this out. You're just thinking it's just gonna freak them out. They all just puff in a cloud of ash.
Holy shit.
One of
Fucking
which
Thanos
is
them?
right
Holy
in
shit.
one of which is right in front of Yuri, so you just get a literal face full of ash as this thing fucking
I
explodes.
think Yuri like swung down at the Ash Husk and was like getting ready and was like, hell yeah, now I'm gonna fucking, and then looks up and is like, where'd you go?
He's like, I got one! Huh? They're all gone?
Oh,
You mean I
okay,
didn't kill it?
so we are we are out of initiative then. Fucking damn.
Wow.
So
The power
You-
move that Frost just pulled on everybody.
oh, that is such a power play. Holy fucking shit.
Leave it to the cleric to end the combat in 2 turns. Like,
That wasn't even 2 turns. That was just literally a turn 1 wipe.
Are you sure you don't want to roll like wisdom saves for all of them, or
No.
this is cooler this way?
This is funnier this way. This is funnier this way. Anyway,
Oh man, everyone's gonna be so sad they missed this.
Okay, so after that, just this huge ass dense cloud of ash slowly begins to dissipate. And you see the other Genasi is just looking at you stunned. And it's just like, fucking hell, remind me to bring a cleric next time.
Frost will he'll like dust a little brush a little ash off of his pauldron, and he'll look at the Genasi and he'll say, "Don't mention it now. Who are you?"
You see he gets off from his little perch, slings the bow across his shoulders. You get a good look at this guy. He definitely looks, well, for one, he looks younger than Yuri by a long shot. Where Yuri looks like he's in his 50s, this guy looks like maybe in his 30s. He's got sort of a mustache and sort of like the triangle goatee, which along with long braided long black hair sort of braided in a ponytail with various glows of some sort of ember like aura coming off of him. He looks to the rest of you and he goes, "The name's Malachi Volkanov, but most people just call me Mal."
Volkanov, you say. And I'm gonna
Hi.
turn to Yuri and say, was he mentioned in the journal you have?
Dungeon Master, was he?
As far as you can think of, he was not.
No, I don't know that I've ever heard the name before.
Tell me, how
Yeah.
long have you been in here?
Well, let's see here. Last I remember, it was about the year 3862 ED, give or take. What year are you guys from?
What year are we from? I don't remember.
Where is my fucking map that actually has the year? Ah. Of course, it's gonna take forever to load. At the very least, you guys know that with the way that the way that yearly dates are set, whatever the era is usually the first number. In which case, oh wait, I have it in my journal. I think. See, now I gotta go through my own notes. Okay, not there. Okay, is it in my... I swear, you would think I would have the... Oh, wait. What the so in your case, it is the year 4106 ED.
Your hands only.
Yeah, we say that. We say that's the year that we're from.
4106? Wait. Oh, now it gives me the actual fucking stretch. You see that Malachi just kind of looks at you all kind of bizarre and is like, alright, so you guys are a part of me future and not me past. Well, honestly, that kind of makes a lot of sense, because I don't recognize him. Points to Yuri.
This is one of your descendants.
Hi.
Suppose so. Fucking time's a little weird out here. I'll give you that much. Weird question. Weird question, because I know you'll probably know the answer. Who was the Volcanov that came in here before you?
That would be my dad, who's Dimitri.
Dimitri. Oh, hi! I remember that guy. So that means you also live in, what was that fucking place he called it? Barely Rested? Something like that.
Yes, Baron's Rest, that's the one.
Hi. He told me what happened to the Empire. Damn shame about that. Granted, I was just a wee one, but when that all was happening, give or take.
So have you been in here? You've been in here this entire time, then?
I suppose so. Unlike your friend here and Dimitri, I wasn't actually from the Empire. Well, okay, to be fair, I was, but then my uncle, or great uncle, I don't know, made something or another Uncle Alexei took us all out of the Empire before it all went to shite, and then we moved out to Tyrus. Started out a little bit towards the south, near the Jacques-Henri encampments and whatnot, well, settlements. Though I suppose at this point they're more of an actual city-state than they are a settlement nowadays. It's hard to keep track, especially with history just passing at a blink of an eye. Sorry, this is all just still a little bit weird for me. See, by my count, last time, let's say it's probably been about 12, maybe 18 months since I saw Dimitri, give or take. But then again, it's hard to tell time in this weird-ass maze.
You saw him?
Aye. Like I said, it would have been about maybe what feels like maybe a year and a half ago, give or take. Though I guess by your standards, it might have been a wee bit longer. He said that he was from Baron's Rest and what was left over of the Empire, though it sounded like it's even in worse sort of in a worse standing than it was when everyone was starting to revolt against the nobility. Anyway, like I said, I'm more closely related to Alexei Volkanov. Like I said, he was the one that brought a family out from the Empire over to Tiris. We spent quite a bit of time as nomads before having some allies over in the Drakon resettlements towards the south.
I see.
What is your relation to? See.
He's he's like my uncle, great uncle, something like that. Honestly, it was kind of hard to tell 100%. Not long after the family decided to sort of settle down within Tiris, he just up and left, said he had to go back and figure something out involving something of a damn journal or something.
Yes, we found said journal.
Great. Have you found him yet, at least? Want to give him a right whack of the head, if you understand.
No, we have not.
I haven't seen hide nor of him.
Shite.
Person
Oh,
we
well.
met here.
Really, I'm the only one.
Everything else has been Ash Husks.
Yeah, they seem to be popping up a lot more often these days. Honestly, I'm surprised I haven't...
Is that so unusual?
Well, I mean, the closer you get to... Or from what I've heard from others that have passed through here, the closer you get to the side of the maze that's more closer to the plane of fire than the material plane, the more they might occasionally seem to pop up, but... I mean, along with that, the one other thing that I remember hearing about was the fact that instead of, like, for those who actually go into the maze, instead of end up losing their minds and whatnot, they, from just plain insanity, the maze just kind of takes them as one of its own and turns them into this sort of shite and whatnot. Honestly, I've been worried every once in a while that it might happen to myself and whatnot, which... I'll say that there have been a few things in this that have definitely made me sort of concerned about that. And you see, as Malachi kind of says that he pulls on a part of his armor in which you see what looks to be a mix of various markings and his skin sort of having this sort of ashen flake to it almost, with sort of bits of like dulled ember sort of igniting around it and whatnot. Yuri, you look at the markings at the very least, and you realize that part of it looks similar to the ones that you have currently on your arm.
Yuri asks, is that a sign that the marks becoming more and more like...
I suppose so. I mean, granted, I think I've only seen it maybe happen to one of the others out here. I mean, at the very least, you're not the only Volkanovs that I've met here in the maze, and there was this one chap, I never got his name, but he was more worse off than I am right now, and there was one point where it just kind of took over him, it seemed like, and next thing you know, he went from, well, looking normal-esque to looking like one of them.
Troubling. Have you met anyone that wasn't a Genasi in this maze?
Let me think here. I mean, other than the rest of you, at the very least, there might have been a couple of people at the very least. I know that Alexei went with a couple of others that weren't necessarily Genasi or Volkanovs for that matter, but I can't really confirm that or anything. There were rumors of some human girl being here well before all of this turned all this turned into a fucking problem. But I haven't really seen anyone like that around here. Uh, there might have been a Dragonborn or a Drock Henri that have wandered around here a couple of times. Never really been able to get a good look at him, so I can't quite tell. I just could tell by like a silhouette of a horns and a tail that it was some of the dragonkin, but I think it was about around the same time that I met up with Dimitri. Like I said, I couldn't quite tell if it was a Dragonborn or a Drock Henri, but because I never really quite got a good look at him. But at the very least, I could say that it was one of the Dragonkin, and seemed to have a somewhat understanding of who Dimitri was at the very least, or at the very least along lines of possibly knowing him through being here in the maze. I can't quite tell for certain.
Do you think that the Ash Husk transformation is to anyone in the maze?
I mean, it's possible. Like I said, most of the people I met out here were Genasi of the Volkanov line, but I think part of the reason Sorry. I think part of the reason that this all happens to, at the very least, to the Genasi, or the Volkanovs at the very least, is because, like, before the fall of the Empire, the Volkanovs were members of some sort of religious order within Atherin, and specifically to the goddess Rhea. And so the idea that I theorized with a couple of friends, a couple of mates in Tiris, is that the reason that this happens is because of the fact that it's more about the fact, and more ties into the devotion to Rhea and not letting your guilt of other things try and control, or not necessarily control, but be reasons to hesitate when you're going on a path that is meant to be one of a religious trial. Which at the very least at the very least make... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Have you ever made any progress on your way out of here? Have you tried leaving?
I mean, I'm not really one to be a holy person. Most of my family sort of still hold to the occasional prayer and whatnot, but I wasn't necessarily raised in the religion for Rhea herself. And from what Dimitri said, he wasn't quite that either. Though, that being said, his determination was far fucking stronger than my own, I would say that much.
So you haven't tried leaving?
Oh, I have tried, but... I mean, there was one point where... I felt like I might have gotten close, but... the deeper you go into the maze, the more difficult it is to sort of navigate outwards and whatnot, and... Plus, we're all given the warning that there really is no way out unless someone actually completes the damn trial.
What is this trial? Do you know what it entails exactly? What do we have to do?
Well, from what I can think of and whatnot, like I said, I'm not really one for being of the religious type, though I do sort of occasionally take note of sort of the historical aspects. The trial, as I said, is more of a holy. Is supposed to be one of a holy one to show the determination and devotion to Rhea and whatnot. But the maze itself will try and find ways to sort of test your devotion and whatnot, whether through guilt or seeing moments in time that you feel like might have changed history to where you didn't necessarily have to worry about it and whatnot. And the more devoted you are, or the more determined you are, the further you go into the maze and whatnot without having. But if you let something sort of second guess that devotion and whatnot, it's, for lack of better words, it sort of curses you.
So, devoted to or something of the like.
Something of the like. Like I said, I never was really one for being a part of any clergy and whatnot, but I did have some friends within sort of the religious aspects within Tiris that felt that having faith in the gods themselves is part of being mortal and whatnot, though honestly I'm not entirely sure. Honestly, if I'm being honest, to be honest, I pretty much only came here because of fucking Bet. Albeit at this point I don't quite. It's kind of weird. See, while when I came in here, I was a part of sort of the patriarchy side of our family. It might not have actually started that way, and some members of the family were wondering whether or not this whole bullshit being called to the maze and shite would still work, even though it's sort of confusing to kind of mention, but long story short, it was part bet, part curiosity on the family side, and yeah, I'm not entirely sure how else to sort of explain this. It's a little weird. And to be fair, I haven't really spoken to a lot of people in quite a while. Am I talking too much?
Perhaps a little.
Sorry about that. Even me mate Zandy always said, even before I went in here, me mate Zandy always said that I would talk like a fucking crazy. Tell you what, looked like y'all were about ready to start making camp and whatnot. Do y'all still need to sort of rest and whatnot? I don't mind standing guard for a little bit longer.
I think we could stand to rest, yes.
I agree.
Right. Alright. I'm still more than willing to answer any questions you might have. Though to be fair, I might have more for you than you do for me, considering, you're technically a part of the future. Or, I guess it's the present? I don't know, this whole thing is fucking weird. Dimitri had a couple of theories as to why this all seemed to be as if it's sort of stagnant here, but never was really anything concrete.
I guess we may have some discourse then. And I'm going to kind of just like pick up my bedroll and dust it off a little, shake it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just gonna sit up against one of the walls with it like laid out underneath me, and I'm gonna gesture to a spot next to me.
Are you gesturing to Yuri or to Malachi?
Malachi.
Right.
So I have
yeah,
questions for him, and he'll have questions for us.
Yeah. Malachi just kind of, sort of eagerly, just kind of sits down, kind of crosses his legs, sets his bow and a sword sort of right next to it, all and whatnot, and it's like, all right. Well, even after all this, I don't mind y'all going first and asking more questions.
Why don't we do a give and take? We ask one question.
Fair enough.
So, my first question then. Do you have any useful information on completing this trial and escaping this maze? Other than what you've already told us about having faith.
Right. Well, as far as I can think of, there were others of the Volkanovs that managed to get a little bit further than I, and decided to try and backtrack a full things. They said something about having to fight a previous champion, but they weren't necessarily able to tell me exactly what that meant or who this previous champion might be to begin with. But it seems like that's sort of meant to be close to sort of the end of the trial and whatnot. As for anything in between, from what I can tell, it varies between person to person.
So this trial is not... Oh, sorry, go ahead, your turn.
Right. You see, he turns to Yuri and is like, so you and your father live in Baron's Rest in what used to be the Empire. Do you know if there's any other of the Volkanovs that might be in Tiris?
In Tiris, I have no idea. I have my family, I have my wife, I have my kids, but I don't know about, the greater empire or the greater world. I'm not entirely sure.
That's fair. At the very least, it's good to know that the Volkanovs haven't gone extinct yet because of this damn thing.
Thank goodness.
Right. Your guys' turn, I believe.
Yura, do you have any questions for him?
I guess, what was Dimitri like? What kind of a person was he?
Well, he was determined, I'll give you that. Definitely something of a gentle soul, for sure. He didn't quite want to leave Baron's Rest, didn't want to leave his family and leave you, I suppose, but he knew that. But he was also a hell of a warrior as well. We'll say there was one thing that sort of struck me as bizarre was during his time here, he seemed to have learned a different sort of fighting style that I wasn't certainly familiar with. Looked mighty painful too. He said it involved something along the lines of a combative blood art or something like that. To be fair, it really made no sense to me, to be sure, but he said he learned it from someone here in the maze.
Well, I guess it is your turn to ask a question again.
Right, Right, so I asked about them and Tiris. Uh, so, from what Dimitri said, there were a bunch of different factions within the within the Fallen Empire and whatnot. Have you met any of the factions in there and like actually gotten to get an understanding of what they're like?
Um, yeah. One of our allies is a member of the Lines of the Sand. Um, from my understanding, they are ruthless. One of the most ruthless organizations I've ever known. Then again, I'm not, in it, so I guess it's a perspective of an outsider. But
Well, I mean, to be fair, the Empire wasn't exactly quite peaceful either. Granted, like I said, we were supposedly of minor nobility there, but from what I remember, at the very least here and from some of the older generations of the family, the higher noblemen were definitely ruthless. Like, as soon as the Emperor knew that, uh, as soon as the Emperor knew that at that particular moment, most of the other nations didn't have any connections to the gods or to magic, he saw that as a sign of them being weakened and took it as an opportunity to, well, try and take over the rest of the nations here in Ekra, but drastically failed because he didn't realize the fact that even in their weakened state, they were a lot better. They were a lot more stronger in numbers and in a casual combative skill than he gave them credit for.
The hubris of an arrogant king.
From what I was told, he also pulled a bunch of the reserves and lost a lot of them. That's one of the reasons why the common folk of the Empire started to rebel, because of the fact that they realized that they had sent all their resources and all their people into a fight that was basically a losing battle. They just started an uproar, and despite the fact that they didn't really have any combative skill, a shite ton of common folk are a lot more powerful than a skeleton army and a bunch of noblemen. Anyway, I think it's still your guys' turn to ask a question.
Right. So, this trial, is it not exclusive to Volkanovs?
I suppose not. I mean, like I said, there were tales of a human girl going through these trials as well after causing a bit of a commotion. Uh, but I mean, aside from that, considering the fact that you guys are also here, um, as far as I knew from various members and from various members of the Tyrian clergy and other minor factions of the Primordial Enclave, um, anyone at the very least who is devoted to the goddess could have undertaken the trial for themselves. It's just that the Volkanovs were, uh, what did Sandy say? The Volkanovs were of old blood to the point where, basically by birthright, they were allowed to take the trial regardless. And I suppose because of the fact that everyone else that has gone in through here has basically been stuck here throughout generations, it just sort of kind of goes on to whoever is basically the next patriarchy of kin.
So, for all of us to escape this maze, does any one of us have to complete the trial? Big person, such as you're here, have to finish the trial.
I mean,
It's not my turn.
No, that's fair. And honestly, it kind of seemed like a two-part question anyway. From what I could tell, at the very least, so long as someone is able to finish the trial, um, whether they be a Volkanov or not, then anyone else here who is still have some level of sanity would be released in one way or another, whether it means uh, going into an afterlife or going back to their part in time where, like, when they entered. I have no fucking clue on that idea. I mean, like, Dimitri had his theories and whatnot, and honestly, from what it sounded like, so might have Alexei, but never got a chance to bloody ask him and whatnot. All right. I suppose it is my turn. All right. So, this time he turns to Rakion, which I'm gonna say at this point, everyone introduce themselves to Malachi for the sake of sanity. Um, this is gonna be a bit of self roleplay here, so you guys can sit back for a sec. So you see Malachi turns to Rakion and is like, "So you said your last name was Zandari. Are you a part of the Zandaris that were once in Tiris?" Rakion just kind of nods, like, "Yes, my family used to live in Tiris before, during, I guess, around your time period or so, and some of, from what I knew, most of them were exiled into the Outlands." See, Malachi kind of nods, it's like, "Oh, fucking shite, I didn't realize that happened. Is it weird that I actually know part of his family?"
Perhaps.
So, like I said, I had a friend of mine, I call him Zandy, but, like, his last name was actually Zandiri. He was a member of the Draconri settlements within Tiris, in the south and whatnot. And, I mean, he was a bit of a radical, but I didn't think he would get exiled. Um, let's see, last I checked, I didn't get a chance to ask Dimitri about this because he had no fucking clue what I was talking about anyway. Last I could remember, the Zandiris, like I said, were a part of the settlements, but as far as I know, as far as I know, you might actually still have kin within Tiris. I mean, I doubt the entirety of the clan decided to be branded as traitors. And actually, if I remember correctly, there might have been some that were part of the old Tyrian vanguard during that time period. Might be something for y'all to look into at the very least. I mean, 'cause like I said, I knew one of the Zandaris when I was growing up. We were basically mates. And like I said, he was a bit of a radical, which would him into getting in trouble fairly often and whatnot. I had to friggin' pull so many friggin' strings out of my arse just to save him from getting sent off to some friggin' prison and whatnot. But either way, I mean, to be fair, it would have depended on how extreme he decided to get with his radicalism at that point. But aye, as far as I can think of, I'm fairly certain that I used to know some of his kin.
Hmm.
All right, I suppose it's your guys' time.
Would a Rakion have any questions about that?
He probably would, but I am too tired to try and roleplay a full thing.
I'm dead.
I mean, if one of you guys want to ask a
Why
question in
everybody
his...
needs to go.
Yeah, no shit. But, I mean, if you guys want to ask a question in that vein in Arikion's stead, I'm not going to stop you guys.
I don't know
think I
enough
could
about a
pull
Rakion.
off- I don't think I could pull off a Rikion's voice, unfortunately.
Nah, you don't have to. You don't have to.
Um, can Yuri ask? You mentioned Dimitri uh, learned some kind of like some sort of thing with this manipulation of blood from a person in the maze. Did he mention who the person was, what they looked like, etc.?
Uh, he said it was a he said it he didn't give me a name or anything, but he said it was mainly because of the fact that I did not have given him one to begin with. But he did say that it was a he did say it was one of the Dragonkin, possibly Draconry in nature. It was hard to tell, but as far as I can think, it from what he might have told me, it was quite a bit of ways into his journey here and whatnot, and he felt like it was, and he was getting to the point where he was starting to get close into giving up and trying to get into all this and whatnot, and then someone came to help him and whatnot, and during that time, this dragonkin taught him whatever this fucking art was. I got to see it up close. It was definitely a little bit bizarre, in my opinion. He managed to use sort of his own blood and life force to sort of create various aspects. I mean, it's very hard to. It was almost. I want to say it was almost cultish in nature, but I mean, I wouldn't really quite know. I mean, I may be a bit of a historian, but in terms of people who knew certain blood arts, I'm gonna have to lean over towards cults.
I
Wow, that's judgy. No, just kidding.
Sorry, if I'm breaking the turn up. You mentioned sorry, my English. What the fuck? Did Dimitri learn?
What the fuck's English? No.
Did Dimitri, to your knowledge, learn the blood art magic shit inside the maze, or was that outside the maze?
What it sounded like it was when he was here inside the maze.
Ah, okay.
He had, from what it sounded like, he had occasionally made his way close to what might have been the final parts of the trial and whatnot, but always seemed to be getting his ass kicked or something like that, to the point where it was really starting to sort of take a toll on him.
Well, that certainly kills my theory to who taught him the shit, but
See, anyway, are the Volkanovs still considered nobles in any sort of manner? Like, I know things have gone to shite over where the Empire used to be, but like, do we have any sort of fucking standing anymore?
no. Well, at least, I mean, at least to my understanding, I mean, we're now it's all just the and correct me if I'm wrong on this, DM. Empire's fucked. It's all just clans now, and everyone's just
Yeah, no, Empire's been gone at the very least for 200 years or so, maybe a little longer. It's pretty much been the Raider clans ever since.
Yeah, you'll just be like, nah, we're not, uh, not like we used to be.
Well, that's shite. Right. I guess it's still your guys' go.
Perhaps you might have a location that may give us hints or clues to our trial,
Right.
or where we might be able to go. Any unique rooms, something different in the maze that stands out.
Well, as I said, a lot of the trials here kind of depends on the person themselves and whatnot, or I guess the party as a whole in your case. But one of the things that I do remember hearing from, at the very least, hearing from Dmitri a little bit, and maybe from some of the other Volkanovs, is that after a certain point, there does seem to be, it does end up in some sort of, once you get closer to the plane of fire, the maze does sort of end up into sort of this possibly like temple-esque style of open area and whatnot, where it's not just complete walls and ash, and there, it actually looks like someone fucking lives there. But I've never been able to get it that far myself. Mainly because I will say that in hearing a lot of the stories from Volkanovs of past and future, I've most likely let my guilt get the better of me at least more than a few times. Kind of the points to the marks and the ashen skin spots.
So you don't think you're going to get out of here, do you?
I mean, maybe, maybe not. I mean, I've reserved the fact that I'm probably not going to be getting back to the material plane and getting back to the home that I once knew. Shite, I'd be more than happy to find myself in Elysium, at the very least, and... But, I mean, I've kind of accepted that, to be fair. It's not a... I mean, I'll admit, it was scary at first, realizing the fact that realizing the fact that I might not necessarily be strong enough to get through the maze entirely, but I mean, I might not have lived the best life in the material plane and whatnot, but to be fair, I wouldn't quite change anything if I had to. Maybe understanding the whole Volkanov history a little bit more, but not really much I can do after that. I mean, even after I was raised near the Drakon resettlements, I went out. Joined the I joined the Tyrian Vanguard for a little bit. I trained with sword masters and combat masters from the Eastern Isles. I've made friends with a variety of different people. Like I said, members of the Sandiri clan being one of them. And I'll admit, if I hadn't set in here, I probably would have had a good 2 decades or so ahead of me in the material plane. But I mean, I'll be damned if I let this damn maze turn me into a fucking Ash Husk. But yeah, I've kind of, and honestly, even with everything, I've just kind of gotten used to the surroundings out here. I mean, that being said, that doesn't necessarily have to be what is in store for you lot. I mean, from what I can remember, most of you guys are the most amount of non-Genasi, or at the very least non-Volkanovs, that I have seen in a long time. And I mean, y'all seem like a fairly tight-knit group. I mean, well, and at the very least, you, Yuri, you're starting out in here with a sort of fresh idealism and whatnot, and sort of a fresh determination. And for someone like me who has been out here for several hundred years by your accounts, maybe that's maybe that's one of the things that's truly needed in here. And at the very least, with each generation of Volkanov that's come into the maze, they seem to be getting closer and closer to actually managing to get their way through. I mean, like I said, Dmitri managed to actually make his way most likely to the end, for hells if I know. And if you're as powerful as your pa, or even more stronger, then you're more than likely going to be able to finish this damn thing and have us all finally find some way of peace, or at the very least the ones that are still bitching and moaning about this place.
I can only hope, I guess. I mean, I don't have the slightest clue what sort of trial or challenger awaits me, but I hope this whole thing can end. And forgive me if this is outside of your understanding of the maze, but if a person does go and complete the maze, do the souls trapped inside, do they just remain in the maze and have to complete the trial for themselves, or?
Well, from what I was told, if someone was able to complete the maze, then anyone else who was still in here does get released, but it's never quite specified as to how. But I can assume that at the very least the ones that are turned into Ash Husks find some sort of afterlife. So at the very least, if that happens, then the First Reaper's definitely going to be having a hell of a day trying to get all these souls out of here. As for those that haven't been turned to Ash Husks, like I said, there's been some possible talks about as to what happens there, whether they get put into an afterlife or if they get sent back to their timeline. I mean, if that's the case, I wouldn't complain too much. Then I could possibly give old Zandy a slap on the head for being an idiot. But at the very least, to some form, everyone who's been trapped here, at the very least, does get released in some manner, and doesn't have to be continually stuck here.
That's good.
And even then, Ash Husks are very weird in themselves, as they're not only elementals, but they're also technically, well, undead. So in the aspect of that, there's also the theory of whether or not they actually still have their souls, or whether it's just as they're literally described, just husks.
Such elemental undead do not retain their humanity.
No, and at the very least, it's still sort of a weird combination anyway. I mean, I've heard of... I mean, there was always some theories within the sort of the magical universities in Tyrus of the ideas of sort of hybrid creatures and whatnot, but I've never seen it with undead. I mean, at the very least in my timeline, necromancy isn't illegal, last I checked. Frowned upon, maybe, but straight up banned, not that I know of. But still, the idea of trying to combine it with primal elementalism, it's definitely something I've never really quite heard of before. Right, I guess it's my turn to ask a question. Alright, this is going to be a bit of a weird one, but at the very least we have 3 of the Dragonkin here. Has anyone ever figured out what the fuck the whole Claws of Tiamat prophecy thing is figured out on?
You'll have to remind me about that. GM.
The prophecy of the five claws of Tiamat was at the very least, Frost would know this more for a good bit. So when Tiamat was banished from the material plane after trying to reclaim it in the name of dragons and fighting Bahamut, it was an oracle within one of the religious orders. It's still uncertain as to where or who. But an oracle released a prophecy in which it stated that Tiamat would return, and that for lack of better words, five pure-blooded descendants of hers would be the keys to unlocking her banished prison and returning her to the material plane. And these quote-unquote five descendants were basically nicknamed the Five Claws of Tiamat. One for each of the chromatic color types.
So what would be the answer to his question that Frost might know?
I'm gonna say either give me a history or a religion check.
All right. Religion. Oh wait, wrong thing. No, stop. Bloody phone. All right. Let's go to top and hit. Where is it? Oh wait, history or religion? Oh,
History or religion.
That is a 5 + 2, so 7.
God damn. So to the best of your knowledge, there hasn't really been much change in the histories from ever since the prophecy was released. There have been theories of what it all could mean, but there have been no official statements in any manner of anyone announcing themselves as one of the Claws of Tiamat.
So the Claws of Tiamat, as far as I know, have not been discovered.
No.
That's what I'll say, yeah. As far as I know, the Claws of Tiamat have not been discovered. We do not know. There's been no word on who or what they be, or where they are.
Honestly, at the very least, I'd say that's a bit of a relief. Drakon with Antiris were always a little bit worried about that damn prophecy, and some of the Dragonborn as well, but at the very least, a lot of the Dragonborn within that were a part of the vanguards at the time when I was a soldier, they didn't really want to take much stock in it, as the fact that there was no proof that there was anyone with such a quote unquote pure bloodline for it to be a problem.
Well, we all know we all know what would happen if it were to come to fruition.
Aye,
Chaos.
that's true. Right. I'll pray that it never happens in your time.
Frost agrees, but Dusk does not. Frost does
Anything
not
else?
want it to happen, but Dusk does.
Anything else you want to ask me?
I'm gonna shrug and say I have nothing else in mind at the moment.
Right. Yuri, what about yourself?
Same. I'm out of questions.
All right. Well, with that said, I believe we all could use a bit of a rest of some sort.
Yes.
Yeah. With any luck, we might actually be able to find another part of the maze that actually might be less filled with aggressive ash husks.
Yes. That would be welcome.
Ah,
Although I'm a little disappointed in the Ash Husks that we had here. I was not expecting them all to turn to ash.
I mean, to a certain extent, I mean, to a certain extent, they were already ash. I mean, they're called Ash Husks. Just kind of stops, looks, and was like, "Was that supposed to be a fucking joke?"
Yes.
He's hard to read.
You just see, you just hear him mutter something in primordial, which with his accent sounds very fucking weird. But then again, it's also a bit of an older dialect, which sounds even weirder which sounds just as weird to Yuri. So you're not sure if the way he's saying primordial is because of his accent or because of the time period. But Yuri, at the very least, you can make it out. Where he just basically mutters, "Oh, gods above, give me the fucking patience."
Oh, he doesn't like jokes. Wow.
Yeah, Frost.
I mean,
even though Frost. Even though you understand a little bit primordial, this just kind of goes over your head.
To be fair, Frost was making a joke. He's not one for jokes, so it kind of comes across as just like a, well, how would I say, perhaps just like a very blunt statement.
Yeah. With that, you guys set up camp. The both of you start your rests. First off, as Malachi said, he would take the first shift.
I would like to spend a little time augmenting my primordial knowledge. Like
Alright.
maybe like an hour
Yeah.
of my rest practicing primordial.
Yeah, I'm gonna say go ahead and give me. Just give me a straight up intelligence check.
Alright.
See if I remember correctly.
Hey!
God damn.
I got a nat 20.
That's the second nat 20 you have gotten for these fucking checks.
Did I get a nat 20 last time too?
Yes, you did. Because I said you would have 2 successes at that point. Which
Jesus.
yeah, you've got.
It's
So,
very similar to Draconic.
It is very similar to Draconic. And as you're kind of comparing, like, you were still, like, comparing a lot of the Draconic to the Primordial, and then trying to double check, just make sure which of the Primordial Ignins between, like, the Ancient Ignin and the Modern Ignin. You have a way better, like, as you're sort of getting to the more complex stuff, you have a better understanding of this language at this point.
Fuck yeah.
I will definitely say you're not completely proficient yet, but I will say
It's not going to take 2 nights to learn a language.
But I will say on your next roll when you do this, if you roll really fucking well, because
Like another
at this
fucking nat 20.
like another fucking nat 20, and I will say the DC is going to be higher on this one. But if you do end up rolling really well, I will say that in a sort of basic structural standpoint, you would be proficient in Primordial.
Like, I'd be able to ask and answer simple questions.
Yeah. And, I mean, for the sake of mechanics, you would be able to read and speak in Primordial, but in sort of roleplay aspects, it would be very, very basic. The more you would practice it, the more you would you get better at it in that sort of standpoint.
Frost would probably be about as proficient in Primordial as I am in French.
Hey, that's better than me. All right. So yeah, after after Malachi, who wants to take the next watch?
I suppose Frost will.
Okay. So yeah, Frost, you wake up, you sort of set yourself up, in sort of a watching position. You sort of look around at the sort of area you're in. The piles of ash scattered around from the husks that you just literally fucking obliterated.
You're still so
what?
mad about that, aren't you?
Yes. Yes, I am. Yeah, no,
Alright.
next time I'm just gonna throw a fucking fire elemental at your ass.
Bring it.
Oh, don't tempt me, bit. No. Okay, but
Just a note for the audience: never challenge the DM like I just fucking did, because they will bring the challenge if they want to.
okay, actually, I'm curious. There it is. What level even is a fire elemental?
Higher than what we are, I think.
Probably. Oh, wow, really? Yeah, you might still be able to kick its ass with just one, but we'll find out another day. We'll find out another day. But in the meantime, so how is Frost sort of thinking of everything with sort of the information that was kind of passed back and forth between the party and Malachi?
Frost is trying to break down what he learned and try and figure out patterns, clues, and riddles to everything that might help advance them further into the situation at hand to better what's the word
better understand.
to better understand it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead and roll me a insight check.
Insight. Where is insight? There it is. +3. Cool. That's a
dirty 20.
Dirty 20.
God damn. So in in one of the aspects that you're sort of thinking of from what Malachi has said, part of which in that the main part of this whole thing is about devotion and how Malachi originally thought it was sort of thinking that it's mostly about devotion to Rhea. That's probably a major key thing, as the Maze of Embers is a trial in sort of the religious aspect of her dominion. But you as a cleric you're not a cleric of Rhea, you're a cleric of Helm. An entirely different domain of an entirely different side of gods. And you have sort of successfully been able to traverse through the maze with sort of little to no effort. And so, as you're kind of looking through sort of the aspects on that side and sort of looking at your own experiences, the idea of devotion to Rhea sort of doesn't quite prove to be completely factual in this case, but at the very least, does revolve around some type of devotion, whether it's to Rhea or one of the other gods. You're not 100% certain, but you know it doesn't necessarily have to revolve purely on Rhea.
All right. With that being said, Helm is going to kind of go into deeper prayer with Helm, or not Helm. Frost is going to go into a deeper prayer with Helm to Helm to try and see if like my devotion to the God of Guardians is part of my part in this trial.
Well, thank God you don't have divine intervention.
Yeah, I'd just be like, Helm, get us out of here, please. Light appears over all of us, and we ascend like the fucking reckoning.
Hey, no, from what I've seen with like other cleric players, divine intervention is so fucking tricky to actually get success on. But so I'm gonna say, give me a religion check.
Where did it go? There it is. +2. I had 19.
God damn, dude.
It's a good day for Dusk.
This guy's rolling well, yeah.
More or less, yeah. Okay, so is there any exact? Yeah, so is there going to be like any exact wordage you're going to be using in this prayer to Helm?
It's gonna be a lot of. I don't really know religious sermons or anything, so it's gonna be a lot of like.
Just do it. Just do it how you think it would be done, my man.
As the god of guardians, Helm is again not one to directly intervene or interfere with a lot of stuff. I think, as far as my understanding goes, he's more likely to trust in those who worship him to get the job done. And so he's just simply going to, the way he says this is, let me think of something for a second. He sits and he says, Lord Protector, please accept this prayer, and that it finds you in good hands, in good health, in good mood. Accept my reaffirmation of my vows, and he says, please accept my reaffirmation of my vows to you. And he's going to recite the oath that he took when he first became a cleric to Helm, which I don't know any oaths, so I'm not gonna try now.
So
yeah, and he's just gonna kind of invoke like a reaffirmation of his devotion to the Lord Protector, the Lord of Protectors.
Lord of Protector. All right. So you sent this prayer to Helm. You ended out with the oath in which you took when you were forced, and when you were forced. It
brightest day, blackest night.
No, you are not the Green Lantern, you asshole. You speak your prayer. You speak your oath under your breath. You offer this prayer. And sort of as you do, you begin to sort of feel this sort of almost an aura, but you're not entirely sure 100%. Like, you sort of look as there's kind of feels what seems to be some sort of dullish glow kind of surrounding your armor. Kind of more so condensed around your holy symbol within the Eye of Helm. Yeah, within your gauntlet. And as you're sort of saying this prayer, saying this oath, you feel as if along with this prayer, you were slowly beginning to gain some sort of touch within another aspect within Helm's domain. One that the god himself is willing to bestow upon you for you to continue your journey in getting the job done. In game mechanics, you gain the feat Minor Domain,
Oh.
Oh.
which I am now adding to your character sheet. This is a homebrew feat, which you are normally is for, which I think I had the restriction to those with proficiency in religion, but you're a cleric, so this still works.
Do I not have proficiency in religion? I thought I did.
You do not, but you're a cleric, so honestly, this still works.
Oops.
So,
I
basically,
accidentally hit the button for roll, and I rolled a nat one.
all right. So this is minor domain is added into sort of the hero abilities tab. What minor domain is you get to select another quote unquote domain that is associated with the deity that you worship. And you get to have, I think it's one of the, with each, you get one of the domain spells per spell level of that said domain.
Okay.
Yeah. There's also a hero abilities tab within your character sheet, apparently below.
Yeah, I'm looking
your
at
back.
it now.
Yeah.
I'll have to do a little research into Helm's domains, because I don't think he's just a life domain god, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. Well, I have a shit ton of other other domains that work in this case, so you can mess with that later. In the meantime, after that, you sort of end your shift. It's fairly quiet, still with the shuffling and stares of Ash Husks, but you just kind of look at him and it's like, not today. And they shuffle on off. That being said, we are going to go over to Yuri, who will take the next shift.
Alrighty.
So
I
Yuri.
go and I kick him in the face to wake him up.
Yeah. So Yuri. Actually, which domains? Oh yeah, no, I have the standard ones. Well, I can add more if I need to.
I'm a research Helm to see if he's got any more other
Yeah,
domains, but in the meantime,
research.
go on.
Yeah. Yuri, you sort of stand up and make your way to sort of sitting by the fire in sort of a spot where Frost was sitting, sort of looking amongst the party and kind of looking towards Malachi. What is going through your head at this particular moment about the situation?
I think it's been the same since Yuri's entered the maze. I think Yuri's been overwhelmed. There is so much. I think Yuri is just presented with so much information, and he's trying to process all of it. I think. Yeah, he's just, after being told that, like, his father was spotted semi-recently in the maze, I think there is that glimmer of hope that he's holding on to, and then being told that if the maze is completed, all the souls in it will be released. I think he's just holding on to that glimmer of hope that there is a purpose for being in the maze, despite how, like, what's the word? How painful it has been and is going to be.
So
I'm actually curious about fucking how that'll affect the timeline. Like if he brings his father back from the maze and he reappears in the time that his father entered the maze, does that mean he never has no father? In which case he never comes to the maze. In which case the whole thing just does a huge time paradox.
And Yuri
Yes,
ceases
it's
to
just-
exist.
Just save that for a Star Trek episode. They deal with too much time travel bullshit.
Oh, wait, is Yuri getting interstellared right now? This is crazy.
That's honestly just as confusing, but if not more so. But so you're sort of thinking of the complexity of all this, but at the very least, one of the few things that comes into your mind is you know your father is alive, and you know that he hasn't, as far as Malachi has said, he hasn't fallen victim into becoming an Ash Husk, or nor does he. It seemed like at the time that Malachi met Dimitri, he had any indication of turning into one. Whether or not that's because Malachi forgot, or because you didn't get a chance to actually ask and whatnot, you don't know. But from what it sounds like, your father is alive. He made it through a good part of the fucking maze, and he still seems to be doing the best he can, which is better than what it seems like for a lot of the others in here.
Good shit.
Why did you sound mad when it said he made it through a good part of the maze?
I did not. Okay.
You sounded a little mad for some reason.
No.
Like
no.
you're the one who made the maze. And he completed a good portion of it. You're like, he wasn't supposed to get that far. Sorry, I got off topic.
No, you're fine. So
I have a golden
at the
retriever
very
brain.
That's fair, though. That's fair. Anyway, so at the very least, you are comforted by the fact that you are comforted by that fact in this whole situation, and I mean the fact that you also got to meet another one of your ancestors. You actually got to meet another Volkanov who basically kind of went through the same situations in losing members of the patriarchy within the Volkanov line, and eventually, by still the same fucking reason, made their way here to the Maze of Embers. It's a little overwhelming, but you're thankful that you feel like you're not the most insane person in the maze.
Yeah. Yuri definitely had those moments where he's like, when he first considered like why did his father go missing, he definitely had this moments of like, maybe I'm just making shit up. Maybe I'm just making everything up.
Yeah. No, you've had those moments, but in this instance of seeing Malachi, hearing his stories of living in Tiris, being a member of its military, getting a chance to travel a little bit, and he still somehow managed to make his way here. Like, it still kind of proves that the Volkanovs are fucking crazy, but at least you're not the only one. And
It's a collective insanity.
it's a genetic insanity. But part of you also has some manner of uncertainty in sort of the last bit of aspects of what Malachi was saying, in how he's basically been here for so long that he's accepted the fact that he's not going to be coming back to the material plane, and he's sort of okay with it. It does provide you with a little bit of uncertainty as to the feeling of, oh god, am I going to end up like him and just accept the fact that I'm not going to be coming back? And sort of that does kind of give you a little bit of uncertainty, but at the same time, he did also give you some manner of confidence in saying that each generation after him has made it further and further, and that and at this point, there's a good chance of you actually being the one to basically set everyone free. Like, that's somewhat relieving, but it also puts a big fucking weight on your shoulders, so you don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
The only other aspect of this whole conversation that puts you into some curiosity is Malachi's conversation about the combative blood art that Dimitri picked up here in the maze. You sort of think back to the last time you had a vision of your father in which you started to tap into a skill set that somehow was bestowed upon you in that instance of trying to find a connection with Dimitri. Like deep down you know that the two between what you accessed in that moment and what Malachi was talking about are one and the same. But you are even more curious as to how your father came into this practice to begin with.
Y'all remember Buck from the Ice Age movie?
Yeah.
Tomorrow, Malachi's gonna grab a rock and start talking into it like a cell phone.
Oh my god.
And we'll look at you, and we'll be like, if we're stuck in here and we start doing that, I'm gonna blame you.
Yeah. So, like, in that instance, you're still thankful in the aspect of having a connection with your father.
Yeah.
But it's still a bizarre ass thing because you have no idea where he got it. And in that instance, you're not entirely sure how you got it either. But you know that it's like you've made, like, with the descriptions of what Malachi has told you, you tried to make some connections. It may or may not have worked. That's up to you. But with all the answers that Malachi has given, you do still have a variety of other questions. As well as the lingering hatred for that one frickin' bitch that is the goddess. Is there anything else that you would want to be doing in this particular moment?
No.
Right. Well, with that, you sort of finish your shift. You do still get the occasional Ash Husk kind of looking your direction and whatnot. Albeit a little more intensively than what you'd seen sort of the last few times. But you just kind of hold up your axe, and they just kind of make their way further from your camp. There have been maybe one or two that have come a little bit closer in which you actually have to throw your axe at them. But eventually they don't give you they don't give you that much trouble. I ain't gonna make you roll shit for it. In the end, you all get a long rest.
Let's apply that long rest.
Yes, apply the long rest. You all get up, pat down, and sort of move away sort of the layers of ash that have kind of picked up on you. Malachi just kind of lets it genuinely fall off and doesn't quite dust it off as completely as you guys do. And like you can tell that a lot of his clothing is very, very stained in ash compared to the rest of you. But then again, this guy's supposedly been in here for over 300 years or so. So it kind of makes sense.
I'm gonna look at him and say, I have a question. How do you survive here exactly?
Well, for the most part, a lot of the other Volcanovs have come in here with various other supplies and whatnot before, and if you're lucky enough, you might be able to find a cache of supplies and whatnot. I mean, other than that, I mean, the further you get into the plane of fire, there are other, well, elemental type creatures that do show up every once in a bit. Some that actually do have, something you can chew on. Um, there was one point where I did actually see if I could eat some of the ash. I don't recommend it.
That doesn't
I
sound...
can't imagine why.
Hey, when it's the only thing you can see for basically fucking miles, you get a little curious.
Well...
Use it,
Okay.
use it as flour to make bread.
So...
You know, I'm not actually one to be a baker, but if I do end up picking up bacon, I might actually try that.
okay.
I don't think that'll work.
Oh, then why'd you bring it up?
Never mind.
Anyway,
even Frost's dry humor goes over this dude's head. That's so fucking funny.
yeah. Yeah, wait, actually, what's this guy's intelligence? What did I make this guy's intelligence?
Oh boy.
Okay, so he's not a complete idiot. He's just crazy. From being cooped up here for a few hundred years.
He's forgotten
Yeah.
what a joke is.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, he goes, yeah, I mean, actually, we might be getting close to where we might be able to hunt some beasties and whatnot. Ironically enough, there are some elemental type creatures here that actually do have some mana of, fleshy bits that you can actually hunt for game and whatnot. Albeit there's some actual elemental aspects to them that might end up burning your tongue off. But I mean, it's not going to be that bad. Worst case scenario, you're going to maybe lose some taste buds for a day or so.
I don't know that you can eat fire. I don't know if that's a real...
Mate, we're fire genasi. It's not like it's going to literally burn our tongues off. We can deal with it a little bit.
Fair point. Fair point.
I don't know about your mate here, points to Frost. He doesn't really strike me as a fire type. Actually, wait, yo,
What is this Pokemon?
When it comes to Dragonborn and Genasi, yes. And
Yeah,
actually
you're
Goliaths,
right.
and actually Goliaths now too, but
Look, that's cool.
yeah, no, Goliaths actually have sort of elemental types because giants are sort of primordial in nature as well. Anyway,
That's true.
so yeah, he just kind of looks at you and is like, wait, you're a white Dragonborn, so you're kind of more fancy to, the cold and whatnot, aren't you?
Yes. The heat
And yeah,
doesn't
I-
bother me. I do prefer the cold.
Yeah, I can tell, mate. I mean, you say it's not really bothering you, but you do sort of have a little bit of a aura of steam around you. Like, as all of you except for Frost is taking a look at this, you're realizing there is a little bit of steam coming off of Frost.
Like he's
Throughout this
melted and evaporated at the moment.
No, like kind of like more along the lines of you're exuding exuding small coats of actual ice on your scales, but it keeps melting and turning into steam.
Actually, that would, for a human, that would make it worse. Because that would mean our skin, like, if that was happening to a human for some reason, that would mean
Oh,
our
yeah.
skin is, like, becoming A, frostbitten, or B, steam burned.
Yeah.
But for a lizard-like creature like a dragonborn,
Oh yeah, no,
that
you got,
would
you got
actually kind of insulate him a little bit, I think.
yeah, no, you got scales that are tough as shit sometimes.
Sometimes.
But at the very
Hey,
at the very least, with ice and anything cold, you're fine. And then there's just
But,
there's yeah,
the
there's
steam
you
would
who is
actually
like-
help him in this situation.
Yeah, so it does help, but not by much. And then there's just Yuri, who just kind of is slowly, like, maybe glowing a little bit more than he normally does. Because of the fact that you're going closer to the plane of fire. So it's instead of like burning up, it's kind of like watching a chunk of coal just like heat up and grow brighter and brighter. It's just kind of a lot like that. So now you kind of see the same with Malachi too. So you just basically have two walking glow sticks
Holy.
without the protective casing.
Because
Because like you can still feel the heat around you, but
Really?
you can definitely feel heat coming off of both Malachi and Yuri.
everybody keeps like a distance from the two of them to cool off.
Except and Frost is like at the halfway point. Just is kind of fine with it. Yeah. Anyway.
So fucking funny.
Yeah. So after that, you see Malachi grab his sword, sling his bow, and it's like, right, well, shall we keep walking?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Right. I guess I'll take point for the most part. I mean, unless, Yuri, you want to stay at the head of all this.
I'm down to let you take the lead.
Alright, well. Let's get a move on then. And with that, just starts to turn around, sling stuff along his back, and you all begin to make your way through the maze of embers once more, this time with your new companion. And that is where we're going to leave this episode, unless you want to do something, Dusk.
Frost was he's gonna like walk up beside Malachi, and he's gonna say, "How do you navigate this maze? Do you navigate the maze, or is it just you just wander hoping to find things?"
He just kind of looks at you, snaps his fingers, points, is like, now you're getting it. Walks a little bit further ahead.
Oh jeez. Frost is gonna shake his head. Just keep and then just follow.
And yeah, that is where we're going to leave today's episode, mainly because I want everyone else to show up sooner than later, and I got to eat and other things. But thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this huge-ass dialogue episode that was supposed to be a fighting scene. God damn it, Duck.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. And then, Dusk, if there are other domains that might work for Helm that I don't have in the listings, like, I know I have Order and Peace as domain, like, as actual subclasses for Cleric that I can turn into options for the minor domain feat.
He has, aside from the life domain, which is what I am, he is also a light and twilight domain, which I don't know anything about. I don't know anything about the twilight domain, but I was reading a bit about the light domain, and one of the spells on there is Fireball, also Flame Strike.
Yep.
Which is, I'm pretty sure it's a lot higher level. Oh, only level 5.
Yeah, that's right, because... Okay, wait, hold on a damn minute.
Wait, is the spell level 5, or is the caster have to be level 5?
It is... Flame Strike is a 5th level spell, so you have to be...
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have that spell level yet.
No, but... Let's see. As for Twilight... your first level spells would be either Fairy Fire or Sleep. Second level would be either Moonbeam or See Invisibility. Third level would be Aura of Vitality or Tiny Hut. Fourth level would be fourth level spell would be Aura of Life or Greater Invisibility. And then fifth level spells are Circle of Power or Mislead.
Okay.
Yeah, and you would only gain access to the domain spells, not the channel divinities.
for the light cleric, what would those be?
Light
The light
cleric.
domain. Light domain.
Your first level spells would be either Burning Hands or Fairy Fire. Second level spells are Flaming Sphere or Scorching Ray. Third level is either Daylight or Fireball. Fourth level is Guardian of Faith or Wall of Fire. And then fifth level is either Flame Strike or Scrying.
Okay.
I don't know why Scrying is on there. It makes
Light.
the least amount of sense. See,
I'd like to go for the light domain. That sounds a lot more soldiery.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Like I said, I do also have the order domain or the peace domain, which I could turn into options for the minor domain feat. But
what are the spells for those two
Okay.
domains?
So for the order domain, first level spells are either command or heroism. Second level spells are hold person and zone of truth. Third level spells is mass healing word and slow. Fourth level spells are compulsion or locate creature. And then fifth level spells are commune and dominate person.
And the other one?
For peace domain, first level spells are heroism and sanctuary. Second level spells are aid and warding bond. Third level spells are beacon of hope and sending. Fourth level is aura of purity or resilient sphere. And then fifth level is greater restoration or telepathic bond.
I already have access to a lot of those spells for both of those, so I would like to go for the light domain.
Alright. Go ahead and select that then. Sorry, Carlo, you don't get any. Okay, so for that, if you go to the pick hero options on the top of your character sheet, it'll bring up the hero abilities, and then
I see it, yeah.
Yeah. Hit minor domains, hit light, and then you should also be able to select the spells from there. And it will scale with your... Yeah, it will scale with your class, more or less. Let's see, how did I have it? And with each of those spells, you can cast each of those domain spells once per long rest without expending a spell slot. Or you can also cast them with your spell slots.
Cool. So in the option pick hero ability, it says ability type. Would I select feat?
No, I already did that for you.
Oh wait, is that something else? I see. I hit add.
Yeah.
That was okay.
Yeah. No, you don't have to add
I
anymore.
hit close.
Yep.
Cool.
And now you have more. Now you have more domain spells that will continue to be in your spell list. Oh dear God, we gave the cleric Fireball.
Yeah. As a player, I've never actually cast the spell Fireball because I usually play martial classes.
I haven't cast Fireball either, but that's because I always multiclassed with martial and magic, so I never get that high. Also, we're still streaming, aren't we?
Yes, we're still live.
Oh, whoops.
Okay, whoops. Either way, I hope y'all have a good one. Bye.
Bye,
Go away. Go away.
Bye.
Go